Okay, so this is a Juki LU1510N-7. It's single needle walking foot with trimmers and automatic foot lift. So when you get the machine, this is what it comes. This is a top loading bobbin. So the bobbin goes in here. We'll go into details on that in a little bit. So this is the control panel that you get with the machine. This machine requires a pneumatic, an air compressor, because we've got a regulator here. There's the motor. I'm just looking at this here. So your wire is set up. Don't worry about this extra plug here. That's for other features on the motor, or because this motor is used for several other different model machines, so you don't really need to have anything plugged in there. So in looking the accessory box you get from Juki, you get a book on the motor, you get a parts book on the machine, you get an instruction manual in several different languages. So if you see it, it's in English, German, Spanish. Same thing with the instruction booklet. That was the parts booklet, this is the instruction booklet. You get some tools, you get one extra bobbin. This is the needle that's set up. It's a 135x17 number 23 needle. This is the cotton stand here. Right now on the machine I have our test one just assembled. We include a light, it's an LED light, and this is the Juki oil, which when you tilt the machine back, there's an oil pan underneath here, and it'll drip into here. So you're just basically going to be putting the oil in the places that it needs to, and refer to the instruction booklet regarding that. Look for the English section. So you wind the bobbin here, and what you would do is you would actually have another spool of thread here being connected to this point, and then when you're sewing on the machine, I'm going to just take this thread out to run, you would just engage that, and you'll see that this spins. So that's where the bobbin would wind. So basically you would wind that while you're sewing in the machine. And if everything is done right, this should finish before you run out of thread in here. Okay, so in threading, and I don't know if you can see the thread here, it's coming through to this point. You've got several holes. You can kind of just pick what you want. You basically want a nice smooth path with the thread. It's going into this tension here, and coming around here, and coming in this direction, and then going down into here to pull up. So make sure that you're in between the discs here. Okay? You should see that when you're pulling on this, when you come up, this is the take-up levy here. When you're pulling on this, it's tight, but when you raise it up, raise the foot up, these will open up and it'll be looser. Okay? So when you're pulling on this, you'll see that your difference in tension. So we'll just lower the foot down again. And then you're coming through this section here, and this is all in the book. Goes through here, and you're going this way. And if you look at the needle, you're coming in the thread from that direction in here. So we're just going to show you that. Okay, so now, just to look at what this needle is. This is a needle in my hand here. And if you notice, one side has a groove. You can see that groove in the front. And that's where the eye of the needle is. If you turn the back of the needle, there's that little indentation that's called a scarf. So when the needle goes into the machine, you see the way this is here. The scarf is towards the hook. The scarf always goes towards the hook. So that means the groove is in the front. And that's the way you thread the needle, in that direction. So to get at the bobbin, This is a top loading bobbin, so you're going to push down on this little lever spring here, and you're going to slide this out, and there's going to be the bobbin. And you're going to push this lever up, and that's how you take the bobbin out. You should do this with the power off, because I'm trying to do this with holding the camera at the same time. So, because here is the knife that cuts the thread, so you don't want this thing moving accidentally and hurting your fingers. So I've got the power off. When you put the bobbin in, now again, if you wanted to wind the bobbin, you would put it up over here and you'd wind it off the spool. But when you put the bobbin in, see the direction where I've got this? I'm pulling in this direction here. I'm going to put it over the stem. I'm going to push this down, and then you see there's like this little groove in here. Put the thread into that little groove. And I'm going to switch hands. And just pull it that way. Okay? And then with the top thread and the bottom thread in place, what a lot of people do, and a really good thing to do, is turn the machine by hand, and you can see the top thread being caught by the hook on the bottom, and it makes a lasso around the other thread, and then I'm going to just pull this up. I'm going to raise the foot manually with the lever behind me. And what I'm trying to do is get this thing to be a little bit shorter. What I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to cut that. So what I'm going to do, and it's hard to do this holding the camera, is I'm going to take this thread that I put it in the bobbin thread, and I'm just going to cut it a little bit short. And then I'm going to close this cover here and just leave that just a little bit. And you want to make sure that the take-up lever is in the right height, because if it's not, when it goes to start the first stitch, it'll pull the thread right out of the needle. And then I've turned the power on. Now you've got here some stitch counting ability. So this is for the back tacks. So right now it's saying 4 and 4. So we're just going to take all of that off at the moment. So now it's not going to do any back tacks. It's just going to go straight. So on this, when you heel back on this pedal, I'm going to just shut the power off so you can see here a little bit. This pedal, okay, you go forward, the machine's going to go forward. You heel back, it's going to trim and foot lift. So depending upon how far you push back, you're going to get either the foot lift or the trim, or both. And going forward, the further you go, the faster it's going to go. Okay, so now I'm going to power it up again. And you're going to see I'm going to heel back, and this foot lift's going to come up. And I'm putting the material underneath. When I took my foot off the pedal, the foot came down. Now I'm going to go forward with the pedal, slowly, just a little bit. Once it starts sewing, I'm closing this all the way. And now that could stay all the way. When I heel back, it trims and it comes up. So now that I've got pretty much everything set up, I went and got some material that we're going to sew with this. And basically, you're seeing what we go through when we bring in a machine from Juki. Get set up on a stand, and then we power it up, and we run it through with cycles. So right now, I'm going to go slowly with the pedal, and you're going to see it going slow, very inching. If I heel back or let go of the pedal, it'll stop. If I heel back, it trims, and the foot comes up. Okay? If I want to sew fast, okay, and that's how that would work. So now let's show the different settings here. So I'm going to put that function on, and that's going to tell me that there's 4 stitches forward, 4 stitches back. If you look at this, A and B, okay, and D and C. So that's the back tack, the beginning at the end, nothing in between. This other function gives you different stitch counting ability. So if you're doing repetitive cycles and stuff, you can try to program that up for that stuff. That's usually done for production purposes when you're doing the same thing day in and day out. But now watch what happens here. And you're going to see this lever here, which is the reverse. Okay? You can see that move. Well, it's not moving because it does it inside. But if you watch this part here, back that. So let's see if you can see it from this end. See, on the other machines, that lever moves, but that's fine. This also does it in turn. See how it went back and forth? And now when I heel back, and that gives you a back tack at the beginning and the end. It's hard to see, but there it is, okay? See, it's done internally from this cylinder. Earlier versions of the machine, you would actually see this lever move. So if you wanted to do this manually, I'm going to take this off right now. And then watch what this sews. And then I'm going to push this lever down. And now it's going backwards. That's so that you can reinforce the tack. This is the stitch length. So right now it's set for 6 millimeters. If you want a very big stitch, you can go to 9. If you want a very small stitch, you can set this to 2 or 4, and you'll have a very small stitch. Let's try some other material. Again, I apologize for a very crazy looking video, but I'm doing this by trying to sew at the same time of holding the camera. So here's some material here. I'm going to change the stitch length to about 6. That's 6 millimeters per 6 millimeter stitch length. Okay, now if you need this foot to jump up higher, because you're sewing something very heavy, because you see right now, this is what's a walking foot. Okay, so let's actually look at what a walking foot is. Let me just... Okay, this is the feed dog. Okay, this is the outer foot, and this is the inner foot. On a walking foot machine, if you see what actually happens, let me shut this power down. The feed dog on the bottom is pulling the material, but on the top, that actually walks. The needle comes forward, the inside foot moves back, the outside foot comes up. And you can see that motion coming up and down and grabbing the material. That means you got a positive feed between the top. If you're doing 2 layers of material, the top and bottom feed will both move together nice and evenly. Okay, so getting back to this knob here will increase how hard this comes up. So if I turn this, right now it's at 2. So if I increase this to 6, then let's watch what happens here. See how high that foot comes up now? See if you can see it this way better. See? So that would mean if you're sewing something if I'm sewing something very heavy, multiple layers, okay, that'll sew that just fine. Because that foot walks up pretty high. Okay? And that sews that pretty high. So basically, this is for your back tack. There's instructions in on how to operate the panel. This is for counting. So if you see it's A, B, C, D. So here you got A, B, C, D, right? So look at what happens. So you went back and forth several times. You can actually hear the clicking. That's the reverse getting engaged. Okay. So again, we have the stitch count, the stitch length here. This is a manual reverse. And that's your back tack. That's for a different program function. And there are certain things that you're gonna need to do in here. Oh, you take the screw off here and you gotta oil up in certain sections. There's a supplemental guide here. When we ship the machines, we don't ship oil in there. That way it doesn't get all over the place in shipping. This button here is a safety clutch. What happens is, you see the hook here and it turns. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, it turning in there, the piece that moving inside. There's a clutch on the back here that if something jams in the hook area, rather than break the hook, it will disengage the clutch. And the way you would engage this again is you would press this button and then turn the hand wheel back by holding the button down, which I can't do. This section here, let's see. See, and then you turn the hand wheel backwards and you'll feel it click in. And then once you get to that point, you go back the rest of the way and it'll lock into place. So again, you're threading into here, threading into this section here. You're in between the two discs, coming down and around here. This is a check spring that takes up the slack. Into the take-up lever, down into here, and then into the needle. This is set up for 110 volt. And that's pretty much it.